We're done.
Hi, Mark.
Nice and clear. Hang on, gallery view. Here we go. Right. All good.
Bit of a rude awakening this morning.
Wasn't it? Yeah. You've had turbulent few hours, haven't you?
Well, no, I haven't had a turbulent few hours. I've just had an hour where I've had to, the fire alarm, which is connected to the mains, has got a battery backup and it's chirping at us, isn't it, at 6 o'clock. So hence the reason why we got up, because we couldn't stay in bed with it chirping at us. And then I had to find out what type of battery it was. Then I couldn't find that type of batteries. I ordered some, but they're not coming until tomorrow. So it's quite frustrating. Anyway, I managed to disconnect the battery, so it's now not chirping at us.
Oh, I disconnected it.
No, you just I took the battery out and you took the battery off for me, because by that time my patience was running out.
This was all going on before 6 o'clock, so we're a bit earlier than normal.
We are.
And it's episode 49, Monday the 11th of May, and Oscar's barking to go out. So you just talk to everybody for a second. I'll just let him out.
Okay. Oh, I don't know what to say. It's very windy out there. The wind has been blowing really, really, like almost like a gale here. So it's not very nice at all. So it looks sunny, and it looks as if you could go out with your sunglasses and your t-shirt, but I think you might need a jumper and a raincoat.
Typical for the Brits. First thing you talk about is the weather. He's going to bark to come back in at some point, but we shall see. So yeah, your hair looks nice. Got it up today. Yeah, got your red lipstick on. Yeah,
it's grown a bit. It's grown about half an inch. So
yeah.
now I really do need to go to the hairdressers. But I mean, it's okay. It's fine. I'll get by. Don't get your hopes up about cutting it. It's fine.
No. So yesterday's song, well done. Andy Poppleton got the song.
Well done, Andy.
Which was Elvis Costello and She. And Angie Crush got the link eventually, which was that he was married to Diana Krall, who'd done a duet, highlighted by Angie Crush herself, with Bryan Adams, who was featured the day before. So a bit tenuous, but that was all partly down to Hubert Bunce in Canada, who'd suggested about Diana Krall, who worked with her mum, worked with Hubert's wife in Canada and was married to Elvis Costello. So I got there in the end for Hubert. He would special request to involve them in it. Anyway, so today's music, we're looking for the song and the link to yesterday. So here we go. It's not right at the start, but it's a little bit into it. I'm not going to play very much, so have your wits about you. Ready? Here we go. There we go. That'll do. You all right with that?
Yeah, I'm fine. It's not me that's got a guess, is it?
Yeah. The next thing, the photo feature didn't go down too well yesterday. It was 2008, that photo of you and Oscar, but I've scrapped that, and I haven't got any more photos to give that are appropriate for here that I feel. So we haven't got a photo, but any old school photos or new viewers or those that give feedback, I'll try and dig a photo up of them if I've got one and feature them.
Okay.
All right with that. Okay, so not a lot of feedback. I think I sensed the music was taking over a little bit, so we're not getting quite so much feedback as we had. Alan Buckle made some granolas off his own bat, inspired.
Bars, yeah. Well done, Alan. That was really good.
Yeah. And Graham Saker and Angie Crush both thought it would be appropriate to talk about the impact of changes with the lockdown and the social distancing in terms of work, visiting others, exercise, etc. And to say you've got some strong feelings on this sort of area is understating it.
No, I'm just sick and tired of people like Piers Morgan rattling on. I don't want to listen to him. I really do not want to know what his opinion is. Thank you very much. as you know, from my point of view, I will deal with my situation, and I think everyone has to look at themselves and think, what would I do? What can I do? And yes, it's good that we can go out and exercise more, or go out and go to the park or something like that. And it is trying to give people a little bit more freedom than they've had in the past. But of course, if you've got underlying health issues, stay at home. For goodness sake, use your common sense. Is everybody gone mad? That's it. That's all I'm saying.
Shall I get it a bit back on track here?
Yes, please.
Okay. Just to remind everybody, these are the notes I took down when old Boris was chatting last night to us all. We can exercise more than once a day, no problem. Okay. We can go outdoors as long as we stay 2 meters apart. If you can't work from home, you can go into work, providing you stay 2 meters apart. Stay away from public transport. So you cycle, walk, or go by car. But no mention of seeing loved ones like girlfriends, etc.
Or your mum, or your family, or your grandchildren. But to be quite honest with you, that was precisely what I was expecting, because although that we haven't got so many cases, we still have to be reasonably careful. But what he's trying to do is treat us as adults, and yet other people in the media seem to think it's not a clear message. To me, it's very clear. I understand what I've got to do. I mean, I could go and see my mum and sit in the garden and chat to her, but because she was 9 miles away, I felt I couldn't do that, because it wasn't under necessary the rules of lockdown. Yes, if I was taking her something, or taking my dad to the hospital, that was different. I had a legitimate excuse to go and see them, and now I feel I can probably go and see them, but not like every day, but I would go like once a week or something.
Oh, is that allowed?
Yeah, so as long as I sit in the garden and chat to them, I'm not going to hug them, I'm not going to go into the house, but I'm going to sit in the garden. I mean, what's the difference of staying 2 meters apart and talking to a total stranger on the roadside?
Oh, I agree, but I don't think he actually clarified that.
He did say that you could drive somewhere
For exercise, walk in, stuff like that. Didn't actually go and visit old relatives.
Well, I'm going to see if my mum's all right. Sometimes she tells me on the phone I'm perfectly all right, and then I have to go and see physically that she is all right.
Yeah, I do think this.
Dr. Hillary goes and sees his mum and sits in the garden and talks to her.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I just think that
it's about the social distancing. It's if I went into the house and I hadn't washed my hands, or done everything that I possibly could to stop it. I mean, I think it's common sense, not sort of like, I mean, if I didn't care and just went in and touched everything or something like that. I mean, if I took the grandchildren, for instance, they'd be touching everything, and that wouldn't help very much. And I don't think I'd do that anyway.
So, as of last night, what will you be doing differently, do you think, than you were previously?
Well, I'm hoping that I'll be able to take Oscar to hydro, because even if I'm sitting in the car and they take him out of the car and then into the hydro, but I'm waiting for them to tell me yes, that's okay or not. I'm sure they've got a few more questions to ask. But
it's hydrotherapy for the dog, by the way.
Yeah, this is hydro for the dog. He gets in a tank, and it's good for him. It's good for his legs. Mind you, he seems to be doing okay without it, doesn't he? It's not too bad.
So that relates to people going back to work if they can keep.
If they can, yes. But I mean, obviously, I'm going to wait to hear to see if I can do that. But I would, if I could do it, I would.
So that's one thing. And then visiting your mum, you reckon you'll you do
I,
that?
I think I mean, it's 9 miles away. My mum's 9 miles away. I mean, it's not the end of the world. I mean, I just have half an hour chat with her without, being able to see her, making sure she's all right. Just have a girly chat rather than anything else. More than that, I think will be okay.
Yeah. Anything else?
Um,
Well, you can go out twice a day.
well, if you annoy me now, I can actually sort of go for a walk without any sort of people arresting me because I've been out 4 times that day, which
Yeah,
is quite nice.
yeah. That's three changes for you then. Yeah.
Mm. And the rest of it, I mean, going shopping and everything else. I mean, I have been going out, but I've been very, very careful. I mean, I take a bottle of gel. I've been gelling my hands before I go in, or touch the trolley, before I go into the shop. And as soon as I get back to the car, I gel my hands again. After I put everything in the car, I gel my door handle. I do my steering wheel. I mean, it's almost like I'm going overboard, but you just can't be too careful.
Yeah. Yeah. I think from my point of view, the only things I agree with you about the visiting a parent sitting outside 2 meters apart, at least 2 meters apart. I can't see the harm in that myself. Although people do abuse it. He's just barking again, just talking away again.
Mm. People do abuse it. That's the reason why everyone says, oh, let's have clarity. Well, clarity applies to everybody individually, I think. So you have to apply the changes to how you're living. I mean, it's very difficult for people who are working, for instance. There's no necessary changes there, but the nurses have got like their PPE they put into a bag, a washable bag, and then they wash the whole thing in that bag, so they don't have, and they put it straight into the washing machine, so that cuts down the chances of any contamination in their own home. I just think you've got to apply common sense, really.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but people don't. And this brings me on to a couple of, well, a few things actually. That I don't think I've mentioned them to you particularly over the last few days, but that I've observed. And you know where you're watching TV or you're walking down the street or whatever, and something comes into your head and you think, is that right or not? Now, I must admit, I am not the best at getting organised and putting bunting up and celebrating things. I think,
You've got to take it down again, haven't you?
yeah. But I walked the other day and I saw all the bunting out in a street locally, and I think I saw some chairs and stuff like that outside. And I've seen VE Day celebrations going on, and my first thought is, are they pushing the boundaries with the 2 meter rule, and are they socially distancing themselves? I don't know. And then on the other side, I do feel, although I wish there'd been more research on it and clarification, that you are probably very unlikely to pick up this virus from being outside and being passed across the air.
It's like everything else. When something is new, how are you going to tell? It's only time that gives you this information, and each country unfortunately has different ways of living, and that makes it very difficult, doesn't it, really? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Like China, everyone lives on top of each other, very much like a canvas at university. Everyone's on top of each other. You've got your own space, but you're literally on top of each other.
Yeah. So I'm sort of struggling with it's how people interpret it, how much they push the boundaries and things like that.
I think people have been pushing the rules anyway, to be quite honest with you. I observed a lady. Let me finish. I observed 2 ladies. One lady was sitting at the corner waiting for her friend to come along, and they kept 2 meters apart but walked together.
Yeah.
So that's bending the rules slightly, isn't it?
It is. As somebody pointed out, and something I've noticed, I didn't know there was so many homosexual 50, 60-year-old male cyclists in this area.
Homosexual?
Yeah. Well, they must be living together to go cycling together. That's sort of that was
No,
the,
they're not. They're meeting up.
yeah. And there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them around.
They're doing it in twos though, which is not too bad.
Well, yeah, but we don't. You
Well, they
don't
used to do it in 5 or 6s, and then literally go past you, sort of like two abreast,
yeah,
and having a chat.
it's wrong. And
It is.
every time I see a photograph on social media of a family sitting together or extended families sitting together, having drinks or lunch, first thing comes into my head is that an old photo? Is it a current photo? Are they just disregarding the rules?
You should be a constable in the police or something like that. You're making this very serious today. Let's get to the light-hearted bit.
No, this was Angie and Graham. They wanted serious today.
Oh gosh, I don't want to be serious. You know, it's doing my head in. I'm having to live with it. I'm having to live through it. So I don't want too much discussion about it.
I don't think you can make light of it because it's you know.
I'm not making light of it. I'm trying my utmost best to do what they've asked me to do. I'm staying at home. I'm going out when I have to. I'm socialising with people when I meet them when I'm walking the dog. I'm now glad I was only walking Oscar. I wasn't going for another walk. I felt I was bending the rules, just go to the garage to get a few bits for tea, for instance. So at the end of the day, I'm quite happy that, you know, for me, this is clarity that yes, you can go out more than once, etc. And I mean, it's as clear as day. But for instance, if I worked, I'd have to contact my boss and say to him, well, we need to keep distance. So, you know, how many people are going to be in the office, for instance, if I worked in an office. Scott, for instance, maybe he's got someone who can work one day and he can work the other day and do the shift, so it's not such a hard job if he's the only one left there or something like that. I don't know the answer and no one will know the answer because it's every individual company who has to look at it individually to make those decisions. And so in a sense, if you had a paper saying these are the guidelines, you're going to argue about those because they don't necessarily apply to your business.
No, yeah. Well, viewers seem to like what you have to say most of the time.
Are you patronising me?
But I think it's a good point where people are saying, well, I can go to work, but I can't go and see my boyfriend, girlfriend or whatever, who I know have been in quarantine and abiding by the rules. So
I think the answer is that I'm hoping that this week that they start opening up the testing to other people. I can't see the schools going back in June unless they've tested the teachers who have to teach these children, because that's the first point of contact.
You've missed my point there, what I just said. You have not.
Well, repeat what you said.
The point's been made, and I think it's dear to the hearts of quite a few people, is they're allowed to go to work if they can, but not allowed to go and see, you know, a mix with potentially in an office or somewhere with people that they don't know whether they're contagious at all. But at the same time, they are not allowed to go and see their loved one, boyfriend, girlfriend, I'm talking about, mistress or whatever it might be. What's the equivalent of a male to a mistress? I don't know.
Lover.
Not master. Yeah, or whatever. So that's
Hold on a sec. The reason I ignored your point is simply this, because how do you get the economy going? It's about getting the country going. It's not about seeing your loved ones. They, in a sense, they're not important, but they're not as important as your job. If you've got no money coming in,
banging the desk all the time today, you can't do that while you're doing this stuff.
I'm annoying you. You cannot go and you can't afford to go and see your loved ones, regardless of whether they're your boyfriend, girlfriend, or your mum or your dad. If you haven't got any money to go and do that, yes, you're being you've got some income coming in, but some people don't qualify, so they haven't got any. For instance, take my sister. She doesn't work, she doesn't get paid because she's self-employed, and she can't work at this moment in time because she's has to go into people's houses. So at the end of the day, she's got no income, and until she starts getting income in, she's got no way of going forward. And so I believe that you've got to start with the jobs before you start with the loved ones. As hard as it may seem at this moment in time, you have to sacrifice something. You can't have everything your own way, and you can't have everything that you want. So you have to learn that you can compromise. And this is a compromise in the sense that if you get back to work and start going forward, then of course that means that you can eventually see your loved ones.
Very good, Dawn. I suspect you'll get quite a lot of feedback. To say, people seem to like what you have to say most of the time. Nobody's calling you out, really.
Apart from you.
No, it's my job to quiz you. I'm only challenging you.
Yeah, but I didn't sign up for being quizzed.
Well, you did.
I did not.
Yeah. Anyway, it's episode 50 tomorrow. We'll try and get back on the more light-hearted stuff, I'm sure.
I think we need to do a really funny one tomorrow, so you better put your thinking cap on, because I don't think we should stick with the seriousness. I really don't. There's enough of that going on, everywhere else.
I might have to do my dolphin impression.
Oh no, is that the only thing you can do?
Yeah, that's about it. With special talents, yeah.
Yeah, don't sing, that's the main thing. See you later then, bye.
All right.